All right. I want us to start off, if we can, with silence. So, what we're going to do, I'm getting my handy dandy timer. I want everybody to close your eyes. This is dead silence. Starting now. Two minutes. You don't have to raise your hand or admit, but did that bother you? Felt good. If it bothered you, you might be your problem. Keep that in mind. Turn to Mark chapter 10, verse 46. Mark 10, 46. Jesus was a great listener, the best listener to ever live. He also was observant, and he also, during his earthly ministry, took time to minister when on the horizon, he had an important date coming up. Let's read this. Mark 10, 46. And they came to Jericho, and as he was leaving, don't forget that, he's leaving Jericho. with his disciples and a great crowd. There's the noise. Bartimaeus, a blind beggar, the son of Timaeus, was sitting by the roadside, and when he heard that it was Jesus of Nazareth, he began to cry out and say, Jesus, son of David, have mercy on me. And many said, hush. They rebuked him, telling him to be silent, but he cried out the more, Son of David, have mercy on me. And Jesus stopped. Catch that? And said, call him. And they called the blind man, saying to him, take heart. He called the blind man, saying, take heart. Get up, he is calling you. And throwing off his cloak, he sprang up and came to Jesus. He literally had a coming to Jesus moment. And Jesus said to him, what do you want me to do for you? And the blind man said to him, Rabbi, let me recover my sight. And Jesus said to him, go your way, your faith has made you well. And immediately he recovered his sight and followed him on the way. Now, Jesus, greatest listener. Jesus, a great observer. Jesus, when an important date on the calendar stopped. What was the date? It was the cross. Chapter 11, the very next scene, is the triumphant entry. Let me tell you something. Jesus has time for you. The crowd and the noise, the important place he was going to, didn't stop him from helping a blind man. This crazy big world and every event happening is not too big that God, Jesus Christ, can't listen to you. Now, there's other instances in the New Testament where Jesus, he's on his way to a preaching engagement and he heals. He's walking down the road, he's surrounded by people, and you remember the story of Zacchaeus. The Bible makes it very clear that he was a short little man. But God did what? Jesus did what? He saw him, he noticed him, he recognized him. There was also in Luke chapter 13 a woman in the synagogue who others were stooping over, and Jesus noticed her. I'm thankful that Jesus, in times of life when you have these questions and you're trying to figure things out, again, he's a listener, he's a great observer. But I think of Nicodemus in John chapter 3. Middle of the night. Jesus didn't say, wait, come back in the morning. We'll meet over coffee next week, make an appointment. No. He took the questions. You ought to be thankful he took the questions. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him shall never perish, but have everlasting life. So Jesus is a great listener. He's a great observer. No matter the crowd noise, no matter the event that was coming, it's amazing to me that Jesus had the time to listen and to help. Now, write these, if you're taking notes, you can write these down. A lot of times we see in the New Testament, Jesus went into solitude. The reason I had you go into a moment of silence is because you all need some silence in your life. You've got a lot of chaos going on. You say, how do you know? I know you. I know your lives. And most importantly, like I said Sunday, I see y'all's faces. You're tired. You're worn out. It's just crazy time. You've got to learn. Jesus Christ needed solitude and time to pray and reflect. And here's the kicker. You ready? Here's the kicker. Listen, if Jesus Christ needed to get into solitude and talk to his Father and listen, you better believe it, buddy, you need to. And if that's not happening in your life, quite possibly that's why it's so. In Luke chapter 9 and Mark chapter 6, Jesus, the Bible says he goes into solitude with his disciples. With himself, we see that in Mark 1, Luke 5, Luke 6, Matthew 14. He needed some time to himself. So what we see is that he understood Psalm 46, verse 10, when the psalmist said, "Be still and know that I am God." If the Son of Man knew he needed to be still, you need to be still. Does he have time for me? What's the story we just read? He has time for you. Everybody close. Hey, a few minutes ago, y'all didn't close. Everybody didn't close their eyes. And you know what? You know what else? After about a minute and 30, I saw this. Some of you can't do it. 2 minutes? The phones, the TV folks, our families, and the craziness and busyness of life. Our minds are just constant. The cool thing is that Christ is in your. When you become content in your relationship with Him, and you practice prayer and you practice reflecting on what you're saying and then listening to what he has to say, you'll find that Christ is in your chaos and there is peace. And we all need a little bit of peace in our life. All right? So, since Sharon leave it to the youth leaders, children. Hey, can we do this? Vivi, La Diva. I love giving her a hard time. Okay, here's what we're going to do. 2 minutes. Sharon, you might be the problem. Listen, let's do it. I'm going to close my eyes for 2 minutes, and when this alarm goes off, I may or may not wake up. I'm just kidding. I might hit snooze. All right? Everybody close your eyes. Silence on 3. 1, 2, 3. Wake up, Maxine. All right. So we're going to close out tonight. They're going to practice a couple songs. We're going to close out not in our circle tonight. We're going to have prayer with a couple individuals, and we'll split up and do that, and then they can sing. But let's do that. All right. So, Maxine, come on up. Wilma, come on up. Wilma, if you'll go right this direction, Maxine, if you'll come right here. Wilma's got some medical tests coming up on the horizon, very serious. She needs some prayer. Maxine's been battling for a long time severe migraines, and we're going to circle around these two ladies, but we're going to split up. So I know everybody's going to just come to Maxine and forget about Wilma, but let's try to split up. No, I'm just playing. Come on up. So some of y'all go that direction. Some of y'all come this way with Miss Maxine.
I want to tell you, when I came Sunday, I couldn't even open my eyes.